And now back to Focus on Diversity with Troy Shaw.
And welcome back to the program. Let's continue our discussion. You know, this is kind of interesting, gentlemen. We're actually now having resolutions about this. The N-word resolution. The New York City Council recently introduced a symbolic resolution calling for New Yorkers to stop using the N-word. Supporters said that Black History Month is a relevant time to call attention to this racial slur. Now, you have to listen to the first statement that was made, a symbolic solution to this thing. And wouldn't you think in today's time that that kind of word wouldn't be used anyway in any particular context? You know, Steve, it's interesting that in today's time, we're even symbolically trying to say that we shouldn't use the N-word. And now New York City Council is trying to make it symbolic as well. What do you think about that?
It's a word that I would never use or would allow my children to use. And I cringe every time I hear the word, but as a journalist and a proponent of the First Amendment, I guess I feel a little uneasy about legislating the utterance of any word, whether or not I agree with it. I realize it's only symbolic, but I don't know really what's being accomplished by a symbolic gesture like this.
Now, he makes a very good point. As a journalist, as an editor, and you as a journalist, and you as an editor, you know, the First Amendment and the right to say what you want to say when you want to say it should be paramount in your profession. But this is a word that is dirty, that's dirty in so many times of ways. What are your thoughts on this, Robert?
Well, I agree with Steve in regards to the profession, the industry of media, and the right to protect the First Amendment. But you know, in this society, freedom is not absolute, and free speech is not absolute either. I don't agree with the idea of introducing symbolic resolutions just to make aware of a dirty word. I think that if they were very serious about this matter, they would introduce resolutions calling on commercial industry to stop the use of the word, to stop promoting the word within various different musical venues, talk to Hollywood about not using the word in their movies, and move for an overhaul of that word in the various different venues that our children get engaged with, entertainment, in music. To me, what New York is doing is counterproductive.
This is the essence of freedom. Being able to say what one wants, regardless of whether or not what one says is completely asinine. This is still, we're talking about the freedom to say what one wants to say. What do you think?
You have the freedom of speech, and that is our given right as United States citizens, but that is a hate term. And I made the comment a couple of weeks ago that that term breeds hate. That brings back an entire different time within our country's culture and history.
With freedom, Chris, you take the good with the bad.
You do have to take the good with the bad, but the only time I ever hear that term is in three situations typically: Hollywood, music, or on TV. Or, and actually, I take a fourth back, when it is a young African-American male saying it to another young African-American male, and they have no problem with it. We as adults, we have a whole lot of problems with that term. But unfortunately, the younger generation thinks it's some type of a cool term within each other. And that's not. It's not a cool term. They don't even understand what that means and what happened with the past. So that's where my problems is. Get it out of the game boxes, get it out of the rap videos, get it out of any music situation that's out there, and get it out of Hollywood. And maybe these young people will stop using the term which is a derogatory slur in regards to any human being that hears that term.
Don't like the word, but I don't know whether or not I'm ready to put legislation on what people say. I mean, I want to hear what people I want to hear what people say, because what they say is typically sometimes what they mean, gentlemen. So you want to be able to hear what, if it's a negative connotation, if it's a positive connotation, you want to hear what people have to say. And do you go to the process of then symbolically and or legislating those kinds of words? Rob, you got the last comment on this.
It just, government at this time getting involved in something like this is not where government should be. And again, New York in introducing this resolution is just counterproductive.
Okay, gentlemen, last week we had a sincere meltdown, an astronaut meltdown. Lisa Marie Nowak, a NASA astronaut that was once literally on top of the world, has hit rock bottom. All of her achievements has been overshadowed by her 950-mile drive to Houston to Orlando to confront a fellow astronaut girlfriend. This has raised questions as to what caused the mental breakdown, her mental breakdown. Robert, I'll start off with you. 950 miles. This woman was in a diaper, okay? She wanted to talk to some woman down there in Atlanta, Florida. What do you think?
Well, I think there's going to be some commercial coming out later for them diapers, especially adult kind.
For animated defense.
I cannot believe the situation. But, you know, humor aside, the seriousness of this is that, you know, the astronaut program is a very, very intense program. And obviously, this lady somewhere along her training, along her involvement in that program, the stresses, the pressures just were too much. And this situation just basically ought to show NASA that they need to go ahead and do psychological evaluations.
Is this the mental? Is this showcasing the mental breakdown, Steve, of the NASA program?
The most surprising part of this whole story to me, when you think about it, is that something like this hadn't happened before in a public way. I've covered a few shuttle launches, and I've interviewed a few astronauts before, and it's a very, very tight, close-knit community of people, and I'm amazed that stories like this, they're human after all. And the most surprising thing to me is that this is so shocking, because nothing like this has ever happened within their ranks before, at least not that we know of. And it wouldn't surprise me that now that this issue has come to the forefront, that journalists start digging a little deeper and you find some other kind of skeletons hidden behind the NASA closet.
Okay, Steve, I should say, Chris, I'm giving you the last word on this.
You made a comment, they're humans. They're humans. Every type of organization has something that happens to an individual. Did she fall off the wagon? Yes. Is there something with her? You know, they should do psychological testing, you know, within the NASA program. They are some of the most highly educated and skilled individuals with one of the toughest positions. You have to strap that booster on your butt and go up into space. Man, I'd hope they'd test my brain waves to make sure I was sane to do that.
Well, hey, the woman had on a diaper, so hey, look, all I have to say is that something's wrong. And when we come back, we'll continue our discussion. Stay with Focus on Diversity. We'll be right back. Founded in 1905, Badger Meter recently celebrated over 100 years in business. Throughout its history, Badger Meter has been and continues to be a proud employer of a diverse workforce. Badger Meter also supports diversity news and analysis through its sponsorship of the Focus on Diversity program with yours truly, Troy Shaw.